Last phase of Uber Sirus. Damage is pretty good, but not quite enough to just burst him down before he does anything. So we do a Divine Blessing. Probably not gonna die here, I don't think. A Rampant. Yep. Tank the Die Beam. Sitting in Degen. Not bad. Alright, we have Uber Shaper here. Or Uber Eater, I mean. Just 25% more life. So the temp change does make it a little easier. We don't have quite enough evasion to tank the tentacles. Like, definitely a bit scary. Gotcha, Hunger. But you can see he's very delayed. Just because of how much temp chains were stacking up on him to increase the effect. But yeah, we had to stutter step just because the tentacles will probably kill us if they all hit. But it does make it pretty easy to dodge the beam because of how slow he is with the temp chain stacking. Even the hunger is very delayed, you can see, right? It actually messes up with your timing like a bit because it's just so delayed compared to normal. Phase. Full suppression, so that doesn't hurt that much. Film right here. And nothing. And I'll show you the mapping experience for the build. You press all the flats at the start. And clear is pretty good. We have like decent damage, and then poison prolif takes care of all the stragglers basically. Decently fast with the Quicksilver and Pathfinder, you know, increased flash effect. So we can basically kill everything in one tap. Extremely tanky with the Tri-Elemental Flask. We have almost full conversion from Fizz to Elemental. Doing the Lightning Coil, Taste the Hate, a little bit on the helmet, and I think I have one Watcher's Eye mod, so we're like 80 something plus conversion. So we can take basically everything. I think the only thing that's sort of dangerous is Detonate Dead type of things, basically, right? Everything else you can just roll, face roll, right? Clear's pretty good, you just one click. Pretty big AoE. I did deliver some maps before, this can probably do like 60% really easily, 80% is not too bad, but a bit slower. But 60% is definitely pretty easy for this build. And we get to the boss. This is a Impending Doom Pathfinder. I league started this build and I was able to take it all the way to endgame. So my current character is PF Dooming. We ended up as far as defense with 16,000 evasion, which is pretty good. We have ghost stances, so that's a decent amount of recovery right there. We are uncapped right here as far as res, but we are using Tri-Elemental Flask. And with my increased flash effect, that's about 25% less for all three elements. So that's pretty strong. We can see right here we're capped and then a bit overcapped enough for cold and lightning as far as like elemental weakness on map. Need a little bit more fire res, but everything else is fine. We have no armor, but we have very high Fizz to Elemental conversion, which gives us a lot of tank against Fizz hits. So as far as the conversion goes, if we go right here, we have 50% from the Lightning Coil. We have around 20% for the Taste of Hate, in particular from the increased flash effect, so that's 70%. The helmet will give us an extra, what is that, 15%, so we are up to 85%. And then finally, we have one final conversion from my Watcher's Eye right here. Purity of Elements, 8%, so in total, we are 88%, is it 88%? No, 85, 93%, or Fizz as Elemental conversion. So basically, we don't take a lot of Fizz damage. We take, at 93%, you take 7%, and then you take, our res is 76, plus 1 max res from the Double Corrupted chest. So we only take like 93% of that physical damage. We only take 24% of that, and then we only take 7% just straight up physical damage because we have no armor or other mitigation other than the conversion. So we're pretty tanky against Fizz. Alright, and the playstyle of the build is you just press Impending Doom, we put Despair in the main link, we click it once with Cascade, Spell Cascade, and that will proc Impending Doom because we are also using Vixen's Entrapment. The Vixen Entrapment casts all 3 curses in the gloves. My current curse limit is 3, but since we're casting 4 curses, the last one gets removed, and that triggers Impending Doom, which is where we get all our poison damage. So we are Poison Impending Doom build. As far as clear, it's a really good clear skill. Pretty easy league start. The only thing you need is Vixen's Entrapment to start it. And yeah, the bossing damage is pretty good at this point with all the Awakened Gems. But yeah, pretty tanky too as Pathfinder with all the physical conversion and ghost stances and decent evasion. You can go over the gear really quickly here. So we opted for a staff because it's synergized. You get much stronger Crucible Tree nodes with staff, and because if we're playing softcore, so we might as well get more damage with a staff versus a one-hand wand and a shield, and we felt pretty tanky already. So for my staff right here, you can see we bought a Fractured Chaos Dot multi base. We basically kept rolling until T1 dot multi on the suffix, and then after that you can just multi-mod. I slammed on the mana, but yeah, that doesn't really mean anything, but yeah. Pretty easy to craft. You just get the Fractured mod, roll for damage over time, and then multi-mod, and this is strong enough for the end game to kill all the Uber bosses. So the +2 socket support gem is really important because it gives +2 levels to our Impending Doom. Impending Doom is where we get all our base damage from, and because it's not a skill, it's very hard to get plus levels to Impending Doom. That's why we opted for the staff, because you can get +2 socketed support gems, which works on the support link of Impending Doom. Otherwise, the other option is to get like a double corrupted Lightning Coil with +2 AoE gems or +1 socketed gems. Because other than that, it's very hard to raise the level. Empower doesn't work because it's not a skill. Plus gems, plus chaos in the amulet and on the staff, they all don't work because this is a support gem. It's not a skill. So that's why we opted for staff. As far as the Crucible Tree, we actually have a dead node in the first one. The second node is actually a dead node also. It actually makes my Leap Slam a little worse because less attack speed. The third node is pretty important, CDR. CDR is very important because that's how you scale the damage. Every time you lower the cooldown for Vixens, you can get more procs, and that means more poisons. As long as you have enough cast speed, it's just more damage multiplier. And then we have a pseudo 7 link with Energy Shield Leech as the final Crucible notable. So this is a pseudo 7 link. As far as our helmet goes, I bought a suppress helmet with a fractured suppression, and then we just rolled it for high life. We just rolled it for high life, and you needed an open prefix for the Fizz conversion mod that we want to craft, and you just want res or anything useful on the second suffixes. And for the implicits, we got increased effect of temp chains and the physical taken as fire for the other implicit. Since we're trying to convert as much physical to elemental as possible because we don't have any other physical mitigation. The amulet is a hunter amulet with a double dot multi and cast speed on the suffix. The prefix is made we did suffixes cannot change and then use the veiled chaos orb for that, and then we just unveiled the life, which is a very high chance, and then we cast -7 mana as a prefix craft. The ring is just a res ring, fractured T2 life, just high res, and then also prefix crafted there. The other ring is a vermilion ring with high life, and chaos damage was from essence spamming envy essences on the ring. You can use that, or you can use delirium, I think, that gives chaos dot multi, but because we have so much dot multi here, flat chaos percent actually gave more damage, so that's why I used the envy essence here. We hit cast speed and some mana regeneration. The mana regeneration sorta doesn't matter too much, I'll be honest. But the -7 mana cost is pretty important because we have 3 -7 here. That's important because we need to lower the impending doom cost very low, because we also cast 3 curses right there, and you can see they don't cost anything from the vixens. They just cast for free. Otherwise, this takes a lot of mana. And most of the time for this build, at least for leveling, I was using Eldritch Battery. But once I lowered the mana low enough, we could drop Eldritch Battery and then use Ghost Dances as more defense and get some ES. But until then, I was using Eldritch Battery, so that's why the triple -7 mana cost is pretty important for the build if you want to drop EB. The chest is our double corrupted lightning coil with +1 to max res, and the other mod is useless. It doesn't do anything. It's just a basic double corrupted lightning coil. The mandatory gloves is vixens, which procs all the curses. This is very important because you just need this to make the build work. The Stygian Vice belt is just a very high life, some ES, and chaos res on the suffix. You do need to open suffix on this because you can craft on CDR, or you could try to A-sling it with the syndicate person. You really do want it because every point of CDR is just more damage. You just have to have enough cast speed on the build. There is a spreadsheet somewhere, I think by Pack, he made about how much cast speed you need per cooldown recovery. But basically, as long as you can keep up the cast speed, cooldown reduction is just more damage for this build, sort of like a cock build, except there's no breakpoint really, other than how much cast speed you have on your build. The jewel is my phasing jewel, and just some life and 2% CDR. Once again, we want to stack as much CDR as possible. And the boots, we have faster poison and action speed for the implicits. It was a fractured spell suppression boots. We just crafted life and just your basic life res boots. As far as flasks, we are using the life flask for recovery. Quicksilver for mapping. I switched it to quartz depending on the content. If there's a lot of stuff there we need to phase through. We get phasing from phasing on kill from the jewel, but I am not spell suppression capped right now. You can see 82, so usually when I boss I put this on because you don't need that much movement speed. And then we have our triple flask. This one gives reduced curse effect, so that means, again, while you're mapping, basically you can ignore curses. And then Topaz Flask right here, the craft is really important. It just reduces my mana cost basically to nothing with a negative 25% on the craft. And Taste of Hate is for just tank and resistances. Go over the gem links for the build. So I am using Awakened Deadly Ailments, Spell Cascade, Awakened Unbound Ailments, Impending Doom, Awakened Swift Affliction, and finally Anomalous Despair as my curse that we are casting with the Impending Doom support. So a lot of people have asked about the Spell Cascade. You only need one Awakening Spell Cascade as far as my testing has shown. You just need to put it into the gloves. So this is important because it gives you a lot of damage. By default, Impending Doom will get 2 procs per cast, but if you have Awakened Cascade in your gloves, you'll get 3 procs of poison per cast. So that's 50% more damage. So it's pretty expensive, but it's extremely worthwhile because it does 50% more damage because you just get that extra poison tick per every cast. And in my gloves, you can see I am using Punishment, Temporal Chains, and Enfeeble. So the first curse in top left is pretty important. This curse does nothing. So the only curses that apply to the enemy is Despair, Temp Chains, and Enfeeble. If you want more damage, you could switch these around. I would say Enfeeble and Punishment are the ones you would switch around. If you want more damage when they get low life, you can put in Punishment here and Enfeeble in top left. But I felt like I wanted Enfeeble for just less damage more often than not. So I chose Punishment for top left curse. That doesn't do anything. In my helmet, we have Divergent Inspiration, Divine Blessing, Anomalous Increased Duration, and Malevolence for my Divine Blessing. Pretty high uptime, 19 seconds. In my chest, I have Purity, Cast when damage taken, Immortal Call. There's not very good guard skills for this build because we don't have enough strength for Steel Skin, and Immortal Call is just the best one. But it's not exactly the strongest, so you probably have 2 free gem links. You can put in whatever. But I put in a guard skill. We have Grace for evasion. We have a Divergent Plague Bearer. This gives us extra dot multi when you're infecting. And we link that to enhance, so it has extra quality. And in my boots, finally, we have Leap Slam, Faster Attacks. I will say that this is definitely worse than Shield Charge. And I do have a bad Crucible mod, so it's a bit slower than normal. So the movement isn't the fastest in this build for sure. We have Flame Dash as my other movement skill, and Divergent Herald of Agony. That gives you extra 20% chance of poison, which saves a couple points on tree. Alright, we can go over to POB really quickly. So one thing to note is it does not include Awakened Spell Cascade for the extra proc. POB can't calculate it correctly. I'm guessing it's just not in there. But we do 15 million right now ramp poison damage, but that's only 2 procs, so we have 1 extra proc. It's around 8 million or so per proc, so I would say the damage is around 20 million, give or take. Obviously it's poison, so damage is not like right away. It does take a little bit to ramp up. So yeah, around 20 million a Shaper DPS. As far as tank, you can see like my max set is very high. We can tank most skills. Chaos Res is a little low, or is the lowest, but honestly there's not that much chaos hits in general other than Simulacrum. So you're pretty fine there, and then decent amount of evasion. Not the highest evasion, but 16,000 is enough. We are 82% spell suppression. You could definitely add the Quartz Flask, which I do for bossing to get more, but I felt that was fine right there. And we have 3% extra there. So the spell suppression is pretty high. We put in a Quartz Flask and we're basically capped. We can go over the tree now then. So for my Ascendancy, we are going first with, I think I went Master Toxicist for just that more poison damage and the clear. Next, I went for the flash charges for the quicksilver so I could map faster. And then we went for Nature's Reprisal for the withers on the hit and increase the effect. And finally, I went for Nature's Boon as the last one. As you can see in the tree here, we went from here, we grabbed the aura nodes. We went to the left to grab Mage Bane to get spell suppression capped, or as much spell suppression as we could get. We are grabbing this mana node for the mana efficiency mastery. This life mastery is here, and just more life. Another life wheel here. We had to anoint this. This is pretty important. It gives you, it makes it easier to overlap the Impending Doom, and it also lowers the mana cost by 20%, which is pretty important early on. This mana cost is going to be very hard to cap. Went up here for these chaos nodes and chaos res, some coordination for some cast speed. And you can see right here, we are using a massive thread of hope. This is a really strong node right here because you can see right here, as far as regular nodes, we got Hunter's Gambit, skill factoration, dot multi here, life, some cast speed, more life here. And then most importantly, I am comboing this with a Glorious Vanity, Doriani's. So we got Corrupted Soul, which is how I am getting all my ES. And because we are not using EB in this build, we can grab Ghost Dance. So that's pretty strong defense right there. Divine Flesh is also another option if you want to do that. Divine Flesh could be used also instead of Corrupted Soul. But the most important part about this as far as damage is, you can see right here, it gives us Chaos damage increase and 25% chance of wither on hit. We have this node times 3. So with this, we have 100% chance to wither on hit. So 25% by itself is not strong, it's not enough to get 15 stacks of wither very quickly. This only lasts 2 seconds, you can see right there, right? I think it lasts probably 3 point something with the temp chains, but it's pretty slow as far as stacking to max stacks. But since we have 100% chance on wither on hit, actually stacks up very quickly, because without this I would have to use an anomalous withering step just to get the stacks up much quicker when I boss. So yeah, that's pretty important for wither stacks, and just really good damage node on top, like 30%, what is it, 27 to 30% cast damage on top. So pretty good combo with the Massive Thread of Hope. We got a Cluster Jewel. The Cluster Jewel is Touch of Cruelty, Unholy Grace, Unwavering Evil. It's Chaos one. We need one medium cluster. The most important mod is Spike Concoction, so we can get Alchemist Genius. That gives us more flask gain and flask effect. We can always keep that up as Pathfinder, so it's really strong. That's why we are using this medium flask effect duration node. And the other one is a chaos dot multi node. So in this one we are using Septic Spells. That gives us some cast speed and 20% chance to poison on hit. That basically saves a couple points on the tree, so we can get 20% poison chance from here. And Wasting Affliction is the big damage noble. It just makes your poisons faster and 20% more damage. The Watcher's Eye, you can see right here, is just Malevolence faster, ailments. That actually is the best mod. So we already have a lot of dot multi, so dot multi Malevolence isn't that great. And in general, as far as mapping, everything will die before your poisons expire. So you'll never hit max poison timer. So faster poisons is the most damage you can get as far as clearing. And then for uber bosses, same thing. If you're going to fight an uber boss with an R damage, they're probably going to phase or turn into do a move where the poison stacks drop off before they actually reach full duration. So faster ailments or faster poisons is very strong for the build as far as actual DPS. Yeah, right here, same thing. Faster ailments, some poison, cast speed, and life. We grab the flask node here 4% life recovery on each flask usage. That gives a decent amount of sustain. Faster poison as the mastery. Like I said, faster poison is very important for the build as far as damage goes. This is a pretty good spot for an unnatural instinct, so we put it here. We get a lot of life, some mana, 12% recoup. Just really decent spot overall to put it in. Save some points with pretty good value. So went up here. We got Whispers of Doom, which gives us obviously the extra curse we need. And then Serpentine Spellslinger, -5 Chaos Res when they're poisoned. And we don't get crit because of this node right here. Because everything's poisoned. There's just that split second before you do the first poison that you can actually get crit. But usually they're going to be poisoned, so you don't have to worry about crit. We have Leaf Shade for dots. And finally we have this damage or time node and this suppression node.